Regardless of whether you live in DC already or are considering a move to the area, choosing where you live is a big decision. Some of the more popular places to live are the DC suburbs, and today we're talking about 8 of the Maryland suburbs that might be the right choice for you. Silver Spring is located directly north of Washington, D.C. on the D.C.-Maryland border. It's also only a short 6 miles to D.C.'s downtown area, so you have pretty easy access to all that the district has to offer. Silver Spring has a good mix of urban and suburban scenery, so it's usually not too hard to find an area that you'll like, plus there are plenty of shopping and dining venues in the area. Downtown Silver Spring is probably my favorite area to hang out in, thanks to the fun outdoor shopping area and the numerous events that are hosted there. There's also the Fillmore, which is a live music venue that hosts all sorts of performers. If you're wondering how much it costs to live here, bestplaces.net gives Silver Spring a cost of living score of 138, which indicates that it's 38% more expensive than the rest of the United States. This is in comparison to Washington, D.C.'s score of 152, which means that it's 52% more expensive than the rest of the US. If you're looking at buying a home in Silver Spring, you'd be looking at prices that range from about $60,000 to $1.8 million, with options from condos to townhomes to detached homes. Bethesda is on the northwest border of Washington, D.C. and is only a short 5 miles to downtown. Bethesda has a good mix of residential and commercial areas, so there's always plenty to do, but you can also escape the hustle and bustle if you need to. Bethesda has a good variety of shopping and dining options, to include my favorite, M&N Pizza, which is conveniently located a short distance from the Bethesda metro station, so you can get there without having to fight for parking. Be sure to also check out Bethesda Row, which is the primary shopping area of downtown Bethesda and has a lot of local and national shopping options. In terms of cost of living, Bethesda mirrors Silver Spring's cost of living score of 138 compared to Washington, D.C.'s score of 152. The homes in Bethesda range from condos to townhomes to detached homes, and they have a wide range of price, going from about $130,000 up to $9.2 million. That's a pretty wide range, so I think you might just be able to find something that you like. Takoma Park is another location that sits right on the Maryland-DC border, and that means that there's only a short 5 miles to downtown DC. This area is primarily residential, but it still has a healthy mix of shopping and dining options to choose from. In addition, Takoma Park is one of the area's hidden gems for cherry blossom viewing during the spring. The best spot to check them out is down on Flower Avenue, so be sure to stop by and let me know what you think when you see them. Do you prefer these cherry blossoms or the Tidal Basin cherry blossoms? Given its proximity to DC, it's not surprising that Takoma Park's cost of living score is about on par with Silver Spring and Bethesda, but it is still less expensive than Washington, D.C. Takoma Park's cost of living score comes in at 139 versus D.C.'s 152. The home types in Takoma Park are primarily detached single-family homes, as well as condos and some townhouses. The prices range from about $900,000 up to $1.9 million, so it's a pretty good spread for you to choose from. Moving a little further away from the DC border, we find College Park. College Park is about 3 miles from the DC border and sits about 8 miles from downtown. College Park is the home of the University of Maryland's main campus and does have a little bit of a college town feel to it. There are quite a few dining options as well as a good bit of shopping available. Be sure to check out the Board and Brew, a local cafe with great food, but more notably, a library of more than 750 games that you can play while you're in the cafe. You can also check out Vigilante Coffee, which is right next door and does coffee and food minus the board games. The cost of living score in College Park is 121 versus DC's 152. So it's starting to get a little more affordable now that you're getting a little further away from DC. It is still going to be more expensive than most of the country though. The home types in College Park are primarily detached single-family homes as well as apartments and condos and townhouses. The prices range from about $125,000 to $1 million. If we head a little bit south of DC, we'll find National Harbor. National Harbor is about 1 mile from the DC border, so it's still pretty close, but you do have a little bit of separation. It's also about 8 miles from downtown DC, so there's a little bit more of a trek if you're heading into the city. National Harbor is best known for its Ferris wheel, the MGM Hotel and Casino, the Gaylord Resort and Convention Center, and its open-air outlet mall. And good news, there's plenty to do here in terms of shopping and dining. One of my favorites is Bobby McKee's Dueling Piano Bar, but if you're looking for something a little more low-key, the Silver Diner is a great option. In the winter, be sure and check out the Gaylord's Ice Attraction, which is a seasonal movie-themed exhibit that features ice sculptures, slides, and a skating rink. In terms of cost of living, National Harbor is a bit cheaper than DC, coming in with a score of 121. The housing types here are primarily condos and townhouses due to the fairly urban nature of the area. Prices range from about $300,000 to $1.2 million. Fort Washington is south of National Harbor and runs along several miles of the Potomac River. Fort Washington is a little further out as well, being located about 3 miles from the DC border and about 9 miles from downtown. Fort Washington is primarily residential with several parks and historical sites in the area, but it also has a good mix of shopping and dining. Plus, if you ever get bored in town, you can just head north to the National Harbor and check out everything that area has to offer. One of my favorite highlights of Fort Washington is the National Colonial Farm, which is a historic farm museum that shows what a farm would have been like on the eve of the American Revolution. The farm has great views of the Potomac River as well as the surrounding areas, and it also has a fishing pier. On top of that, the farm has plenty of trails that you can wander and some picnic tables where you can rest at. Maybe it makes me a bit of a nerd to have this as my highlight for the area, but here we are. As for how much it costs to live there now versus on the eve of the Revolution, Fort Washington's cost of living score is 121. So it's a bit cheaper than DC, but definitely still more expensive than the rest of the country. Home types in Fort Washington are primarily detached single-family homes with some townhouses and condos mixed in. The housing prices here range from about $175,000 to nearly $2 million. If we jump back up north, we'll find Greenbelt. Greenbelt is just a little further out, being located about 5 miles from the DC border and 10 miles from downtown DC. Greenbelt is a neighbor of College Park, but it's also more notably a neighbor of the NASA Goddard Space Center. Who knew that you could have one of the hubs of space exploration right in your backyard? Greenbelt is also home to Greenbelt Park and the Greenbelt Campground, which is one of the closer camping options around DC. Greenbelt has a good mix of shopping and dining, as well as several parks to be able to enjoy the great outdoors. The cost of living score in Greenbelt is 121 compared to Washington, D.C.'s score of 152. Housing in Greenbelt is primarily condos and townhouses, as well as single-family detached homes. Prices range from about $130,000 to $920,000, so it's a little bit more affordable than some of the other areas. Waldorf is the furthest out option that I'll cover today and is probably best for anyone who is looking for more space and less city. Waldorf is located about 12 miles from the DC border and 19 miles from downtown, making for the longest commute of the bunch, especially if traffic gets bad. Although Waldorf is pretty small in size, there's plenty of shopping and dining options in the area. Be sure to check out Firepan Korean Barbecue, which is a local DC area chain, or for something more sweet, check out Wall's Bakery. Waldorf is the least expensive of all of the areas that I've covered today, with a cost of living score of 115. The housing types in Waldorf are primarily townhouses and single-family detached homes, ranging in price from about $160,000 to $1.2 million. If you're still curious about other areas around DC to live in, be sure to check out this next video where I talk about the Virginia suburbs of DC.